Good evening. My name is Michael, and welcome to the Metaphysical Journey. This is November the 1st. So Halloween has passed. November the 1st is today. And tomorrow is, of course, November 2nd. And I want to talk about Day of the Dead that is celebrated traditionally in Mexico, November 1st and 2nd. It's a beautiful time of year in which they pay their respects to the people that have gone on before them, to their ancestors. If you've watched the movie Coco, the Disney film, you're already pretty well aware of what Day of the Dead is about. It's a beautiful time. I realize that with these readings on Day of the Dead, I didn't do as many this year as I did last year because it does cross some lines religiously, especially for those that were raised in a traditional Christian religion. Many of us were taught not to pay our respects to the dead, not to talk to them, pray to them, just to pretty much consider them gone. Yet, I want to ask you this. How many of you when you've lost someone very dear to you, a family member or a friend, whoever it is, there are times where you feel them with you. You know, you feel their presence, you know that they're there, and no one could ever convince you otherwise, regardless of who that is, especially if it's the church. So we have mixed feelings on that. I first learned about ancestor. I'm going to call it veneration. I'm not going to say worship because that's not what it is. I first learned about that when I was living in Mexico City years ago, going to college. And it was a beautiful thing. I didn't know anything like that existed. And at the time when I first learned about it, I thought that's got to be wrong. That's a sin, right? But the more I paid attention to that, and as I grew older and started really wanting to look into my own ancestry through ancestry.com or DNA tests or things, it became very real to me. When it became most real is when in 2012 I lost my mother. And then not too many years after that, I lost my father. Now I do have a brother, a loving brother, but he lives away. So I am here on our family property where I grew up, and both of my parents are gone, and I'm by myself. That's a horrible place to be. And being able to believe and feel that my parents were still around me made all the difference in the world. So that's why Day of the Dead, I absolutely love this time of year. Now, do the Mexicans do it than anyone else? Do it differently than anyone else? No, everyone has their own way of doing it. The Mexicans just do it better. I tell you, they do. It's so colorful. It's a beautiful thing. So I really connect with that. So what I wanted to do this evening is pull a couple of cards, and I'm pulling from the Dia de los Muertos Oracle, and this is by Kelly Sullivan Walden. This is a deck that I absolutely love. It's one of my favorites. It's up there with the Sock Monkeys. The sad thing about this is that I feel that it can only be used one time a year during Day of the Dead. But the messages in this deck are so incredible. She did a wonderful job with explaining each of the cards, how it directly relates to Day of the Dead. So with that deck and going through the cards and reading the book, you can learn so much about the richness of this particular time of year. It's incredible. It's also the time of year in which the belief is that the ancestors, they come back with us. They spend time with us. We can have a celebration with them. They're here in spirit. And this is the time of year when the veil is the thinnest. So it's perfect. So for this, I pulled two cards, and I am going to read from the guidebook on this because again, she does a beautiful job of explaining these. And the first card that we have is Angel or Angel. And she writes, lift your gaze towards the heavens and life will look up for you. It says, precious ones, I invite you to drop your heavy cloak of sorrow. Become willing, if only for a moment, to open the skylight of your mind and glimpse the presence of angels. Your heavenly guides around you are there at all times. As strange as it may seem, I am now among them. So this is as if one of your departed ones is talking to you as one of your angels, one of your guides, or just someone that's there with you, supporting you. It is true that when you lose someone you love, you gain an angel you know. I am here now, leaning in with an unseen hand and supporting you wherever and whenever you give the command. My message to you is simple. Let me love you. Let me lift you up. Let me guide you. Contemplate what you would do, how you would feel, and what would be different if you became undeniably aware of my supportive presence. Imagine what it would be like if you leaned on my guidance, comfort, my higher perspective to make your earth walk feather light. With my guidance and your willingness to let me in, you are becoming more and more of an earth angel. Walk lightly on the earth, blessing the souls of all you encounter, making a difference, sending ripples of healing and heart enriching beauty beyond you in all directions. So the message on this card is that you are not alone. You're never alone. And it feels like it most of the time, I'm sure, especially in a crowd of people with close friends around you, other family, you still feel alone because you lost someone that you were deeply connected to. And you may be wondering, where did they go? What happened? Are they okay? And that's one of the most important questions people ask after someone dies, if they get a reading or something, they just want to know, are they okay? Are they safe? Are they still in pain? Are they suffering? Are they still sick? How are they? And the spirits are absolutely fine. They've done their time on earth, they've passed over, and they're now here to support you, to give you encouragement and guidance because you're still here on the earth. And during their time, they learned a lot of lessons. And as soon as they crossed over, it all made sense. And many of them probably realized, wow, that did not have to be as hard as I made it out to be. And now they're coming back to give us support and assistance. So allow them to help you. The next card, this one is really very nice. This is a skeleto, the skeleton. Now, skeletons we see a lot at Halloween time. It's everywhere. And especially with Day of the Dead, you'll see it, candy skulls, different things. So the skeleton it's a very popular kind common motif for this. And this says connect with the essential. This is the message from your ancestor, from your departed. My love, as you drop into the deep river that flows through the marrow of your soul to mine, you'll realize our love was and is more than skin deep. It existed long before this life and will continue far beyond. Let's go down to the bones of it. My physical form was a temporary container, a beautiful bag of bones with an expiration date, whereas my soul, the true me, is eternal. My message to you is one of remembrance. Remember that your soul lies hidden beneath your personality, just as your bones lie hidden beneath your skin. The more connected you are with the bones of our relationship, the more I will be able to help you stand when you feel weak, to dance when you feel sad, and to seek the light even when you feel it hardest to find. With grace as your guide, carry your favorite memory of me like a tangible touchstone. Allow this memory to become permanently etched in your psyche, sturdy and tangible. Keep in mind the fundamental framework that upheld our relationship, the core values we shared, and the beliefs we had in common. What a beautiful message. Our life, our relationships, everything that we shared with the people we love, it's much deeper than just the surface. This physical life is just scratching the surface of that because everything existed before this life and also exists long beyond this life. So our ancestors are always there to help us. Um, that's pretty much all I want to say on that one, except for one last thing. I do have something else on this one. Is that many people may have not had the best relationship with those in your life that passed over. It may have been very rocky. There may have been a lot of trauma attached, especially if these were parents or siblings. It's just like while on earth, you just didn't get along. And you may be feeling like, and many people do think this, that when they pass over, they're just as mean over there as they are on this side. And that's not true. Remember that on this earth, even looking at yourself, the things that you experience every day, the things that you feel, all of that is based on your perception of your reality. And your reality is all that you know right now in the 3D and the 3D world and in the senses that you have. You don't know the whole picture. You can't see what's beyond. You can't see the higher purpose. But once we die and we cross into spirit, suddenly the earthly stuff is completely removed. And we're back to the beautiful beings we were before we ever came here. All that's gone. And we start to see things differently. I've had readings that I've given to people where an ancestor or a departed loved one will come through, and it doesn't happen a lot that they come in, but when it does, many times the message that they give is a message of "I'm sorry. I realized that I was harsh or I was a variety of things, and I'm so sorry, and I'm here to try and to make that up for you." Also, too, they talk about patterns that run in families, patterns that they fell into and people before them fell into it. And they were raised the way that their parents were raised, and it just goes down the line. And so along the way, there are family patterns, conditions, habits, addictions that flow through the line. And it gets to the point where you are today, and the ancestors try to come back in to say, let us make this right. We're so sorry that we followed the traditions from before, and we want to change this. And many times where this shows up is where they're stepping back in to say, we love the way that you're raising your children because you are breaking that pattern. We're sorry we did this to you, but you're stopping it, and we are here to support you in that, because when you heal yourself and your family, you're also healing the family line. So I just wanted to share that the skeleton, the bones of something, what lies underneath is the lineage, the line coming through. But along the way, the flesh, the muscle, all the stuff that goes on the bones is added to it. And it becomes something that seems very, very real and unchangeable. Everything can be changed. It's important that we never forget where we came from, that we never lose sight of the fact that if it weren't for the people that came before us, whether they were good or bad, and it runs the range, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be where we are today. We wouldn't exist. So that's something to really keep in mind. So these are the two cards I wanted to do. I felt very strongly, and I do not know why. I have zero ever done this before, but I wanted to do something different. And the person that this is for will never ever see this. If she does, I'm sorry. But I wanted to pay my respects to someone that is not, they have not passed over, as far as I know, but we owe a lot of respect and gratitude to this person, because this person was a pioneer in what they did. And actually, many of us, I being one of them, learned about the other side and the guides and the angels and stuff through her work. And I'm talking about Doreen Virtue. Now, Doreen has gone on to follow a different spiritual path, and we all totally respect that. I miss her and her work, but I respect what she's doing and where she is. She has to do what's right for her. But I wanted to pull a card from her deck, Archangel Gabriel. It's an oracle deck, and her decks are hard to find. You can go on eBay and find some of the originals, and they're not cheap. But you can also get them on Temu and different things. So they're still mass produced, but her request was that her stuff no longer be sold. That's her conviction now. And sorry, Doreen, I'm not going to follow that. But anyway, I wanted to pull a card from this, and this card was interesting. What came out, but it makes sense. And it says, "Ask for what you want." Ask for what you want. It says clear communication with yourself, with God, and with others helps you avoid misunderstanding and speeds up the process of answered prayers. Now, where does this come into play? This comes into play because your ancestors around you, the spirits around you, they are your first line of defense. They have got your back. They are surrounding you on all sides. They are always there. Are you aware of that? Do you take the time to talk to them, to ask them something? Because they are there to help you. They want to make your life here as easy as possible to help you learn and grow, but also to make it enjoyable and fun and not pure drudgery like many of them understand now their life was. And it didn't have to be because we have a lot of support. So being specific about what we want is very important. I've shared this before, but I want to do it again very quickly. I have a I do have an ancestor practice. I do it once a month. Usually I do it on the full moon, but I have a little box. It's my little ancestor box, and I have index cards, and I write my requests on those, and I put them in the box during my time with them. Special little ritual that I do. You can do yours however you want to do it. But I read those out loud, and I tell them this is what I need help with, and I read it and I put it in the box. And during the same time, I will pull out the cards that I put in the month before and I go through those. And what I am finding is that those things are being taken care of. And it's weird. I do it, I put it in the box and I kind of forget about it. Then the next month, I'm like, oh, wow, way to go. It was taken care of. Or there are things that is like half of it's taken care of and the other half is working out. So everything's in divine timing. But when you do that, when you do something like that, where you date it and you follow up on a regular basis, you are going to see that there is stuff taking place on the other side. These are being worked out. And it's the ancestors that are doing that. They truly do have your back. So I shared that to say that as when we began on this reading, I realized that many of us were not raised to think this way at all. But perhaps it's time to reconsider our thought process on that. Again, when you have someone close to you that passes, you may have been raised to believe they just go somewhere. You don't know where. But they're really just on the other side. They're always there. They're always with you. And there are times where you're going to feel their presence. And there are times when you're going through the worst part of your life and suddenly you feel the presence of your mom or your father right there. Now, can anyone tell you that that's not real what you're feeling? Go with that. Keep that in mind and see how you can develop that. There are signs all the time from the other side. Are we taking the time to stop and look at them? And when we see something, do we acknowledge it? It's okay to say out loud, okay, I get that. Thanks. And if it's a certain person that comes back on a regular basis and they leave certain signs and you know exactly who it is, or you smell a certain perfume or a cologne and you know exactly who it is, acknowledge it out loud. Thank them for being there because the more you do that, the more they're going to be around. They are not here to harm you. They're not here to deceive you and drag you to hell. That's not how that works. They are here to help and support you. Allow them to support you. Be specific about what you want help on. Ask about it. And at the end of it, always say that or something even better. Always add that something better. Because when you do that, when you're specific about what you ask for and you either write it down or say it out loud, you are also taking a risk on yourself. You're saying, I'm going to voice this because I believe I'm worthy of this. I believe I can do this. I deserve this, especially when you're asking for things that are not just personal selfish things, but you're doing it because you want to be a service to others. And that really is what this is about. We're here to raise the vibration, to help others, to be part of a community, part of groups. We're not meant to live solo lives. And when we ask for things and we ask their assistance on things because it's for healing or help or whatever it is, the response is even greater. So you have a lot of support around you. Consider exploring that, looking more into your past, your lineage, whether it's through, as I mentioned before, ancestry.com and maybe DNA testing. And if you find in the DNA test that you go back to a certain culture, research that, learn more about it. Because what you're going to find is that many things from that culture, many of the belief systems still exist today. For example, All Souls Day came from much, much earlier pagan traditions that go back thousands of years. Day of the Dead goes back about 3,000 years to pre-Columbian Mesoamerica. It's been around forever. So these things are not new age devil worship things. These are beliefs that have always been around. Now, we live in our society today where everything is scientifically based. There has to be data. And yet, look at how many things in your own personal life you are starting to say or think, I want to look at more natural ways of doing that. I want to look for essential oils or herbs, whatever. So even you are going through a transformation where now you're starting to look back at the way it used to be done because they knew what they were doing. They existed for thousands of years on that. And we're starting to have a return to that. It's for a reason because our past has a lot of has a lot of wealth of information and knowledge there that's been passed down over and over and over through the years. And science can't replace that. They can attempt to explain it and give names and labels to it and create a variety of drugs to deal with the symptoms of it. But to get to the skeleton of anything, you have to go back to the basics, back to the roots of where it started. And our ancestors understood that, and they're here to help us. And we want to pay respect and homage to that always, because when we respect them, we respect ourselves. I hope that you all have a beautiful All Souls Day, the rest of it, and then also tomorrow on November 2nd. And just take some time to say thank you to the ones that came before you. Ask them for help, acknowledge that you know that they're there to help you, and give them your permission to help you. You have to give your permission. You have free will. They will never intrude, except in times that like weddings and birthdays. Then suddenly, especially weddings, it's like the other side gets really all wrapped up in that one. But that's an aside. Thank you so much for following me on the metaphysical journey. And I'm happy that you are part of my path, my life, and part of my present existence. Thank you. Bye.